Hi, everybody. Me again. I wanted to take a minute and talk about this whole LSLT head swap thing. I do believe it's finally starting to get some traction everywhere. I seen that just a couple days ago, Brian Tooley Racing released a cam just specifically for this head swap. And I do believe his video is up on YouTube or on his channel. You can check it out. I did post a video about a year ago, roughly about a year ago, on the basics on how to do it. I haven't really checked any of my YouTube videos or anything. I'm never really on them. So there's a lot of questions, I guess, that never really got answered. So I would like to take a minute and just go through some of the specific stuff that I may have missed back then. So as of right now, this is my setup. I have grown quite a bit since the last time anybody's seen it. I have changed many things. I've gone through various setups. Originally, I started with the L83 heads on a 5.3 liter. I built the camshaft and I wanted to try everything on a small scale to make sure that it was going to work and I wasn't wasting my time or money. I bought some adapter plates to go from the head to a LS3 style carburetor. ICT Billet makes these adapter plates that you can run basically any LS intake on an LT head. You just have to buy the adapter plates. What I found out the hard way was that these plates are only designed for OEM style intakes. If you get any other style of intake, the ports don't really line up that well. And I did have a vacuum leak. I wasn't overly happy about that, but it is what it is. It's a learning curve. After that, I went to a 6-liter block with the L83 heads. I do believe that was the engine I posted in my original video. I just had regular LY6 pistons, dish on them. A lot of guys have asked about pistons, and I'll get into that. I changed the LY6 pistons for just some flat top pistons with regular valve reliefs. After I changed to the L86 heads or the LT1 heads, I did have to cut valve reliefs. So basically, when you get into pistons, the 5.3 direct injection piston out of the Gen 5 will work with the head in any of your 5.3 LS blocks. If you get a hold of the rotating assembly, you can use it if you want. If not, for any of these heads, don't use any kind of LS dome piston. I did have a set that I bought not really thinking or measuring, and the combustion chamber on these heads are a complete different design than the LS stuff. So the dome doesn't actually fit properly in the combustion chamber, and what a mess it was. So right now I'm currently running some flat tops. This is my 402 stroker with the LT1 heads on it. I have the Holley high ram on there. Basic stuff. It's the exact same setup as last time. I have done a couple things different. I know in my original video talking about plugging the direct injection holes, I used stock injector, which I have over here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So you can use these stock injectors. They will blow out from the pressure eventually. I drilled them out and I filled them up with weld. A lot of people have told me that the reason these work is because the fuel keeps them cool, and that's the reason why they don't melt. Myself personally, I ran them like this for a year and a half and I never had any issues at all. But that being said, I do think that Mast Motor Performance or Motorsports makes all aluminum plugs you can stick in there. Also Motion Raceworks makes them, but obviously I didn't feel like spending like $400 on a bunch of aluminum plugs. So before I put the heads on the engine, I just drilled them out and tapped it and put in a inch-long Allen head set screw. Put some Loctite on it. I haven't had any issues since. After that, I think, what other questions did people ask me? Push rods. So I went to go and see Brian Tooley Racing for those, just because he was the only one at the time that had them available. Everybody else was out of stock. I don't know if the LT guys are buying them up like hotcakes or whatever, but the length was 7.850 and 5/16 diameter with 80 thousandths wall, if that's what you guys are looking for. I mean, you can use the stock push rod if you're not running aggressive cam. I do think that the Brian Tooley Racing cam has a pretty aggressive lift to it, so you'll probably want the aftermarket push rods for that. What else? Like I said, I'm running the high ram. I do believe Brian Tooley is offering a low ram and a high ram. I think they call it their truck intake, so you can have both. Unfortunately, Holley only offers the high ram with the port injection. They don't have a mid ram or a low ram with the port injection on it. Head gaskets, basically you can use whatever you want for that. LS style head gaskets, you still have to obviously re-drill the hole on the head so the dowels line up, but you can use any head gasket you want. Guys have been asking me about bore sizes. The LT1 head will fit on the 6-liter block. That's what I'm running right now. Anything below that, you'd have to go down to the 5.3 head, which is still a good head. Smaller combustion chamber, the valves are a little smaller, but I'm sure it's still a little bit of work. It'll outflow any of the stock LS heads. I have been talking to several companies, hopefully about developing a carb style intake for these heads, which would be awesome. I think that was my original intent with this whole project, was to basically go out and make as much power for as cheap as possible, to go to the junkyard, grab a set of L83 heads, L86 heads, bring them home, do a little bit of work, and then if you could get a camshaft and a carb intake for under $1,000, you'd really be laughing with this setup. The videos have been posted about power numbers. They do make good power. It's slowly starting to catch on. I have not gone to go and test this beast yet, mainly due to the fact that I live in nowhere land and this is my current situation. So that won't be happening anytime soon, but I will get out to a dyno when the snow is gone and try and post some numbers of this beast. I got to drive it a little bit before the snow came. I do enjoy it. I've been working on putting a T56 in here, which I should have made a video on, because I made a small little bracket and cut a small hole in the side of the bell housing to make a mechanical clutch, because I didn't feel like spending $1 million setting up a hydraulic clutch in my car. And I know there's a lot of guys on the same page as that, where, you know, you want to do things low buck and you want to try and save some money. Aside from that, with this whole setup, I think everything else I mentioned in my last video, if you guys haven't seen it, you can go see that. And I tried to be as specific as possible with the little things. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message me. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys to just message me on Facebook or on Instagram. I'm hardly ever on YouTube. I'm always out here building something, and I think I go on YouTube to just look up little things here and there. I never ever check my account. So feel free to just message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, and you'll definitely have any answers you want or need. I really hope more people do this. I think it's a pretty cool setup. I think that it makes a pile of power. I like the way it drives. It's probably the best engine I've built so far, and I really enjoy it. I do know in my last video I said that you can get these LT1 heads off a place called gmpartsdirect.com. I ended up buying these heads brand new from a company that I didn't realize was actually in Canada. And a lot of guys got back to me saying, we can't order off this website. And then on top of that, they tried ordering from GM companies who would not let them order them because they need a core replacement, or they need VIN numbers from a vehicle to just sell you random parts. I don't know how or why this company sold me brand new heads. They were under $1,000 Canadian, which is fantastic for us. The next option is obviously junkyards. If you can find them in junkyards, fantastic. GPI sells a ported version of this head for just on the other side of $1,000 US. It's already ported. Everything looks good. If you're going to go that route, I would suggest it. I did talk to the guys at GPI a while back before I even bought these heads, and if you request it, they will actually just close up the direct injection holes for you before you even get it, so you don't have to deal with plugs or the direct injection system at all. I don't know if that deal's still on the table, but that's what they told me back then. You can ask them about it. While you're there, if you plan on running a very aggressive camshaft or making an aggressive camshaft, GPI also does sell a fly cutting tool specifically made for LT heads. So if you want to do your own fly cutting in the block, you can do that yourself. You get that tool. As far as this is running, I think it runs great. I've done a bunch of different combos already. Like I've said earlier, I've ran a carburetor on this setup. Then I went to throttle body injection. I think it was a fast EFI kit. And now I am running the Terminator X. I think my next project will probably be the supercharged application. I know that these engines are very good. The LQ4 is an amazing engine. And what I'd like to do is I saw that ICT Billet makes a LT1 to LT4 adapter plate. I've been talking to them to try and get the dimensions to find out if I can actually drill injector holes in them to add port injection to be able to run a Gen 5 supercharger. So that'll be my next project, I think. They make a small plate and a very tall plate. I think the tall plate's like 4 inches, which would be plenty enough meat to put an injector in there. Just get the drill or weld in a bung or whatever. But the problem is that I don't want to pay $600 for 2 chunks of aluminum. The much smaller ones are significantly cheaper, so that's kind of the route I want to go. And I'd like to find a used LT4 supercharger. But until then, I'm just going to keep plugging away at this. Hopefully I'll be able to put up a video in the future, how to explain to do that. It's pretty straightforward. I know that there's a company out there called Weapon X that you can send the supercharger to, and they will put the injectors in for you, but it's like $1 bazillion, and we're trying to, do things on a budget here. And yeah, so like I said, shoot me some comments in the video or direct message me. I don't have a problem with that. I'll answer all your questions. Thanks for watching.